those practical insight, how really the corporate governance and things really take place. He has conceptualized a number of models. He's a great innovator, I must say. And this is a holistic electoral competence rating, a Bharatiya model of financial and digital literacy, work-life natural fusion, which have potential to become another revolution, in fact, in this field. Great innovator, great teacher, a great researcher. Sir, we extend a very hearty welcome to you. We are really grateful that you could spare really time for this. So this broadly is our, the speakers. I must mention that we are so grateful to have them. Now we come to the topic per se, theme per se. We got this theme, new age education, which is, we are talking about new age education, the perspective that we have it as an expert, as an academician, as a professional, as a practitioner. And then we will be dividing this into 3 or 4 sub-points. New age, what really it is, what is the rationale behind the new age per se, which I will try to mention a few in the what is the conceptual part, and they will invite to begin with Professor Harsh Prohit and then Professor Jaiswal on each of those sub-themes that we got it. So first theme will be the rationale of the new education, new age education. Second will be the implications to the various stakeholders with the faculty, students, institutes, and also the parents and others, those who are involved in this. And third will be the implementation of whatever we are saying it. And in fact, both of them have got a large number of experience, the very personal experience of implementing some of the very important ideas. In the case of the new age education, some of those things which are very important as of today. And finally, the new education policy, which has really become now approved. What is the road ahead? How really we should go about it? So broadly, these are the themes that we are going to get into that. So may I now request Professor Harsh Prohit, how really we should try to look at the new age education in this context? What is the rationale, the philosophy behind it? Sir, would you like to say a few words? We start with that 7 minutes, then we get into Professor Jaiswal, and likewise we get into, it's a more of a conversation sort of a thing rather than another. Please, yeah, Professor Harsh Prohit. Sir.
Thank you, Professor Ratan Sharma ji, and you are also one of the eminent educationists, and it's really great to be in the company of Professor Jaiswal Saab also, who is also an institution builder, which is known worldwide. Now, coming to the new education policy, I think this new education policy has the fragrance of flexibility and autonomy. And on top of it, it has a commitment of steel from the government of India to do something in education which could not happen before. So we always say that India has been a golden bird, and thereby there was a golden time as far as our country was concerned. I always wondered that, when you say something or some country was a golden bird, everyone would like to catch the bird. If we were known as the golden tiger, nobody would have dared to touch us. But anyway, education, as we believe at Vanasthali, should always be holistic and purposeful. Now, in this backdrop, if you see the current context, we feel that there is a consciousness revolution that is coming up. So Professor Jaiswal Saab is the person who is the best, who can explain the merit of IT revolution. At the same time, we have a consciousness revolution that is coming up these days. So now the thing is that what way human beings would like themselves to be driven, and we have one eminent person, Professor Subhash Sharma from Bangalore, who talks about a model called as HOPE model. H-O-P-E, hope. Hope stands for higher order purpose of existence. So that is something that is inherent in our culture. And if you see the Western culture, where you find that it's influenced by the Charvak philosophy that talks about L-O-P-E, low, that is lower order purpose of existence. In between, there can be M-O-P-E, mope, medium order purpose of existence. So on the Western side, the things are influenced by the Loeb model, where it is more materialistic. Indian side, it is holistic, not just spiritualistic, but holistic, because we have the Purusharth, Dharma, Kam, Moksha. So it's, more of holistic nature. But the problem that we find with the new generation is that neither they are at the Loeb, nor they are at the Mope, nor they are at the Hope, but they are at the COPE, C-O-P-E, COPE. That is confused order purpose of existence, that what they are doing, their value system is not clear. So education has to focus on the values. And there, if you want to do it, you ought to give flexibility, you ought to have autonomy, you ought to have commitment. So this is what we feel that the new education policy has. And accordingly, it has ushered a new hope for the entire country. And thereby, one can definitely feel that if the implementation happens properly, then we have quite better time. And the thing is that if we are recognizing the best of the East and the West, then it's great. Professor Jaiswal Saab is a person who has contributed immensely in the IT revolution of India, and now business analytics and AI now taking shape and all. But at the same time, I think we have forgotten that there are so many things in our traditional knowledge that can also help us further. For example, there is a granth called as Ardh Martand, which I think many might not have heard about. Now, you learn about Ardh Martand if you know about how to read a Panchan. If you know how you can read a Panchan, you can then go for learning astrology. If you can go for learning astrology, the third thing is Ardh Martand. Ardh Martand, there was a person named as Ganga Prasad. He was in Neemach. So in the early 1900s, he used to come up with a newsletter. And people, businessmen, even in US were subscribing to that. But the thing is that how many experts, real experts we have of Ardh Martand today? So what I mean to say is that what the entire world is after, that is prediction and prescription. Our traditional system also provides the answer. And there are so many things, if we go by it, and a few of the experts, then we find that the current movement that we are witnessing in the market, that is, nobody believed that the stocks will be up, but the advocates of Ardh Martand, they said that it will be up. Nobody could believe that silver will be so high. It could happen. So if we want that the corporate should pay attention to this, then we should be able to show them the value. That look, this is the value, what nobody could predict, my traditional system could predict. Now, using that, would you like to move with me? If the corporate changes, educational institutes will change. When the educational institutes change, the nation will change. This is what I believe.
Yeah, Professor Jaiswal. Yeah, please.
Yeah, very good morning, and thanks, Professor Ratan Sharma ji, my ex-colleague. We worked together at MDI, and we had a wonderful experience. And also thanks Professor Harsh Purohit ji, for whom we had interacted. I visited Wisdom, and it was being developed. You know, this theme is really very relevant in today's context, and fortunately, at the same time, our new education policy has also been announced by Government of India, and its implementation is now being talked. You know, I have gone through the policies, and there are a lot of very insightful and innovative concept has been introduced. And but in a country like India, which is very vast and diverse, and all kind of complexity. The implementation is always challenging for any project, not only for education is of course a very big thing, but great that the government of India had thought of so much in detail, and after a huge consultation, they have come out with this. So in this context, this particular webinar is quite timely in terms of relevance, and also same time, we are also witnessing a massive disruptions in our not only education, but socio-economic life. And digital has, been playing a vital role in terms of saving and, making our life easier in this current crisis. Otherwise, it would have been a much challenging. So now coming to the main theme, what is new age education? You have to analyze, you compare the country. Now today, which is the country in the world which attracts the talent from the world, and why? So there was a time, maybe 100 years back, when Europe used to attract the talent of the world, but now it's for the last at least more than 60, 70 years, US has been attracting the talent of the world, whether it's Indian talent, whether it's Chinese talent, whether it's European talent, whether African talent or South American talent, all desire to, go and work in US and also go and get their education there. You have to understand the brand of the country depends on two factors. And these two factors are, as per my understanding, one is what is the quality of higher education? I'm not talking about school education. School education, maybe India may be better. I'm not saying that. But in terms of higher education, definitely US universities, at least 100 universities will rank among the top 80 or 90 in the world, which comes from US. So whether you talk about Harvard, whether you talk about MIT, whether you talk about Stanford, whether you talk about Wharton, numbers of university, Princeton's, which are ranked in the top 60 or 70 in the world. And that attracts the talent of the world. The second factor, the talent which get attracted is because of the quality of employment in industry. The quality of employment also depends on the quality of education. So US creates more innovative jobs, whether it's a Facebook, whether it's a Google, whether it's a Twitter, whether it's a Hewlett Packard, whether it's Oracle. All these companies of the modern age are getting created there by institutions. So institutions, university and industries, actually, if they're in the high quality, in a high innovation index, that creates the brand for the country, and that attracts the talent, and that creates wealth and health and everything. Therefore, the new age education has become very important. Now, India for the last couple of years has been developing very fast. The GDP has been always, sometime it was almost gone to double digit, but even it has been one of the fastest growing economy in the world. India also has a huge source of supplying human talent, whether it's US or whether Europe or any other country with the talent. India contributes significantly high in terms of supplying the talent. It shows that our education systems are also equally good, like at least our schooling education. That's why people are able to get, and there are some premium institutions like IITs and IIM, which also create a very high quality brand and high quality students. And the moment you write about your education is from these institutions, most of the top university in the US give preference for the admission. So that shows our graduate education, our undergraduate and our schooling educations are quite well done. And that's how they're able to produce high quality, students, and which are being, which are sought after globally in the top institutions. Now, the challenges which we have been facing is that whatever it say that in terms of research, in terms of creations, I think our institutions are not up to the mark, and we need to analyze the reasons. So if you really want to understand the pedagogy of educations and the methodology of educations in new age or existing age, you go back to 1956. There's a famous educational psychologist called Dr. Benjamin Bloom. Dr. Benjamin Bloom was an educational psychologist, and he created a hierarchy of learning. And it has a 6 layer of learning in the educations, and classified into 3 broad hierarchy, that is knowledge, and then application of knowledge, and creation of knowledge, research. And further you can classify into this 3 into 6, that is The bottom of our education is remembering. If you provide any education, that is to remember. Remember means how many states in India, for example. How many, what are the major rivers in India? These are called just information based, remembering. And then understanding. What is the role of states? There are, let's say, 23 states. So what are the roles of states and center? That is called understanding about the state and center. Then application of knowledge. How do you apply any understanding in this? And then we go to analyze and then evaluate and then you create. So what happened today in the class, majority of our educations focus on remembering and understanding and up to some extent applying, only up to 3 layers. We are not able to go beyond this, that is analyzing, evaluating and create. The reason is that classroom teaching has become more of information sharing by the faculty members or the teachers. And students have become so much dependent on the teacher that unless teacher tell them, they don't understand. So it has become a teacher responsibility in inculcating education to students, and students are controlled by teachers, by discipline, by exams in so many ways. So 80% of the time of teachers goes on managing the discipline and providing the basic information about the subject. And therefore, there is hardly any time for creation and evaluation and application.
Right, Professor Jaiswal, I think we'll come to that part. It's a very interesting point you are raising.
Yeah.
Very interesting for about how really we are shifting from the traditional method to this.
Right.
I think let's get back to Professor Purohit also. How you said you implemented these values, ethics, etc. What role you played? Because I believe that in your university, you are much ahead of times. We started talking about values and ethics now, maybe much more. We are talking about, as you mentioned it, that from the traditional system of education provide us a lot of value addition. How really you did it? What has been the challenges you faced, and how did you look at it, sir? Professor Purohit.
Yes, certainly. But before that, I think the views put up by Professor Jaiswal are really wonderful. And I think, innovation and talent attraction in the perspective of the new age education, I think they are the must if our country has to grow further. Now, coming to your question, Professor Sharma sir, Banasthali Vidyapeeth is not a planned creation. It is a spontaneous creation. The founders were freedom fighters, and they were not educationists. And they came to Banasthali for the purpose of doing some creative work in the villages and contribute to the freedom movement of India. But in the process, they lost their daughter, who was very talented. But then they thought that what if we have lost one daughter? We will train others' daughters the same way we would have trained our own daughter. And what was that way? That way was an innovative way which aimed at holistic education, and that they called as Panchmukhi Shiksha, 5-fold education. So in that 5-fold education, there are different aspects like physical, practical, intellectual, moral, and aesthetic. So in that 5-fold education system, they decided to train the others' daughters in the same way they would have trained their own daughter. So that started in 1935, and we had a strong faith in Indian ethos and culture. So with the focus on women's education, going for an education which is needed by the women. So we don't say that Banasthali is a women's university. We say it is a university for women, because we are not just simply teaching what somebody would have studied in any other institution, but keeping in view the needs of women, we have accordingly modeled our education. And the focus has been on value education. And that has been the core reason of our success. And sir, just a couple of days back, we had an orientation program, and our Vice Chancellor, Professor Aditya Shastri ji, he mentioned that he quoted John Sexton, the president of New York University, that education must be for life and not just for the first employment. And the purpose of education is to develop T-shaped personalities, which are deep yet broad. And also he quoted the Hong Kong University Vice Chancellor, who said that values are more important than competencies, which in turn are more important than knowledge. So, following the value education philosophy and the belief in sa vidya ya vimuktaye, that is education which can liberate us, which can free us, is the real education. The university has been working, and without any substantial support in the financial support from the government, the university today stands as the world's largest residential university for women's education.
That's great. That's really nice. That I think you very well quoted. Values are more important than competencies, and competencies are more important than the knowledge. I think that is the way I think things have to be there. But still, Professor Jaiswal, we look into, you mentioned about the new age education, talking about the knowledge per se. Knowledge has to be reoriented towards the new age, which is what we refer to the digitized world, maybe, and what. How do you really try to implement it, get into that? What implication it will have to the faculty to begin with? Because ultimately it has to be delivered by the faculty and then to students. How do you look at it, Professor Jaiswal?
Yeah, so, very right questions, and we have already started doing it here. When we talk about knowledge, knowledge is now can be gained through technology anytime, anywhere, from any location. No need to have a teacher to acquire knowledge. That's what my first hypothesis. The knowledge can be acquired by the student because knowledge is basically a library which are available online, whether in terms of YouTube, whether in terms of books, whether in terms of e-contents, whether in terms of research papers. All the knowledge which are created are already available, and students and anybody can access anytime using various technology like mobile or digital and those things. And in fact, for example, we have created a learning management system at our institute, Moodle based, where we are keeping all the schedule as well as all the content of that every sessions, including the digital content, so that student can go through those things and learn themselves. No need to come to the class to learn the knowledge. That's the use of the technology. And also we have created a studio where teachers can create a content in terms of the knowledge and which can be shared to the students as and when they want, so that they don't have to come to the class even for those things.
Okay.
So class can be done online anywhere and not necessarily teacher is present there. That is for the knowledge part. Now it comes the knowledge which are not there and knowledge which has to be applied, because that is where the industry link comes.
Yeah.
So for that, we have created a concept called flipped classroom.
Okay.
Yeah. So flipped classroom is actually reversing the entire entire traditional educations. Like in traditional education, the entire knowledge is actually gained, or knowledge is accessed, and knowledge is disseminated in the class. Like teacher is using a book and various other resources which are already available somewhere. And that is done in the classroom, which we are saying that is not required in the classroom, that can be learned by the student themselves. And we are shifting the knowledge from the teacher to student. It is the student's responsibility to gain the knowledge because they are the beneficiary, not the teacher. So what does the teacher do then in this case? What is the new role of teacher in the new age? And what is that which what we have done is, so using Moodle learning management systems and your smart board, we have created the knowledge repository which can be accessed by the student using technology. And now when it comes to the classroom, we are saying classroom should be either a sponsored research project or a project from the industry, or it should be a case which has been given to find out how this can be analyzed, or it can be a simulation based class where you play some data and then ask students in a group. So classroom is not one-to-many teaching. Classroom is purely based on the group. So you create maybe group of 3 students, not more than 3, because majority of the time what we do is we create group of 5 or 6 and then say that project has to be done at home, not in the class. We are reversing that. We are saying when you come to the class, you have to do a project not more than a group of 3 members, so that every members do the equal participation in the project. And these projects are sponsored by industry and they are looking for solution. Now, teacher role is to provide a theoretical foundation and theoretical model, because it will not a layman kind of project. We are providing high quality education. So teacher has to provide a theoretical foundation, a model, a methodology that how this problem has to be solved. And then teacher role becomes not to teach, but to regulate and evaluate. So teacher role is shifting from teaching to a regulator within the institute regulator. You're not a AICTE regulator, but regulator for the course, a regulator for the knowledge. So teacher become a regulator and evaluator. So teacher will regulate how you are doing it. So methodology will be given, and you evaluate whether you are able to grasp that or not, whether you have to solve that problem or not. So that your marking is not based on how much knowledge you have gained, but how much you are able to apply the knowledge which you have gained yourself outside the class, and we are giving you a live problem project which you are able to solve. So based on that, the evaluation will be done jointly by the teacher and by the industry sponsor. So that becomes more the application of the knowledge.
That's lovely. That's really very fascinating. Really, how really a shifting of role from a teacher, you are going to be regulator of the course, and that is what is going there. What
Yes.
sort of a thing you look for, Professor Jess? For example, initially it was you should be having the contents, you know. Later on, it's a technology. Also, you have a mastery over the technology too as a teacher.
Right.
Is that the thing you are talking about?
So, the technology, whether you like or not, like today, everybody is using technology, and technology cannot replace teacher. That's what I'm saying. Teacher has to replace technology. So teacher should not become a subordinate of technology. What technology can deliver, why should teacher deliver that? So we are saying knowledge can be delivered by the technology much better than a computer can deliver that knowledge much better than a teacher, because teacher has a limited data, limited information. Whereas computer has infinite data and information and knowledge which can be accessed anywhere. 24 hours machine can be used. Teacher cannot be used more than 3 or 4 hours in a class. So teacher time, which is much more powerful brain, should be used for regulation, evaluation, and then more important, that is the third layer. Okay, the third layer is for the Bloom taxonomy is called creator. The teacher has to be engaged along with the student and industry to create new knowledge which does not exist at all. And that we call today the research papers which we publish some journals. I'm not referring to that because we are saying inside the class, most relevant informations you have got, most relevant research projects you have got, and create like that. For example, right now we are struggling that how to, how to save our life. Okay. Now, how many, we are looking for who will provide vaccine, who will provide, PPP, who will provide all know-how. I think a lot of things, like how to take care of migrant laborers. I think these are also problems which can be discussed inside the class, and we can create new knowledge. We can create, research inside the class, relevant class, and so many things can be done. And that is what Stanford, MIT, and Harvard are known for.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Professor Purohit, you mentioned values ethics. I think that is so important a part, but how to impart it in the class? Because ultimately a teacher has to get into, imparting this part. How I think, what difficulties, what challenges you really faced, and how really we should try to get in that? What's your experience like? What are your thoughts about? Sir?
I think that's very important. Indeed, that the implementation part is given a very careful thought. So, like if I give you the example of Banasthali, in Banasthali, we have focused a lot on our campus ethos. We have focused on a simple living and high thinking approach. For example, all our students, all our teachers, not only they reside in the campus, they all wear khadi. And they all wear khadi. That is one thing. Second thing is that we celebrate all the festivals together over here. There is a wave of nationalism that you can see throughout, and particularly the days like 26 January and 15 August, you will find students, so enthusiastic, and you can feel the patriotism in air like that. And apart from that, I would say that it also needs very good leadership and the vision. If you are committed towards it, then the things definitely happen. Now, when we started, if I talk about the management institution, and as I discussed with you earlier also, if you see management institution, then earlier it was a kind of an allied school, because there was a department of commerce or economics and some courses in management used to run. So we could call it a kind of A school that was allied. And then has come the concept of B school, that is the business school that we have. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that we are in a consciousness revolution. So it's the time that the management education thinks about becoming the C school, that is consciousness school. And talking about the ultimate, and again coming to what I mentioned about the low MOPE and the hope model, that is the higher order purpose of existence, we have something called as the D school, that is the divine school, which are inspired by the Gurukuls. And having said this, the good research on Gurukul, Indian ethos, this is happening everywhere. In fact, I don't know, Professor Jaiswal Saab is aware that at MDI, there is an excellent research that has happened in the guidance of Professor Rajen Gupta, done by my colleague, Dr. Ankur Joshi, on the Gurukul system of education. Now, this inspires us to become D school in the future. Now, Banasthali, as I mentioned, that the Shastri family, they lost their daughter and decided that others' daughters should be trained in the same way. Her name was Shanta Bai. Now, all our hostels have a prefix Shanta. So some hostel is called as Shanta, Sri Shanta Nidam, Sri Shanta Sod, and that way. And all our academic buildings have the suffix of Mandir. So the Management Institute building is called as Pragya Mandir. So that's where the name Wisdom comes. So Wisdom not only just stands for Women's Institute for Studies in Development Oriented Management, but Wisdom is Pragya. And we have this defined wisdom as the combination of reason and intuition. So we have a wisdom equation, Professor Sharma, that is W equal to R plus I, wisdom equal to reason plus intuition. So in that perspective, when we teach, then it is easier for us to implement what we want should happen in the area of value education.
That's really nice to hear, Professor. I think it's a wonderful concept. I'll come back to you, but I'll be then asking you how the industry has taken these things, how the response has been to the industry. But before that, let me get back to Professor Jaiswal. Professor Jaiswal, you mentioned about very important part in terms of the knowledge creation, Bloom taxonomy, which is what is there, and all that. This is what the teacher has a role to play. How about the students? How have they taken it? Because they are traditionally being in terms of the teacher teaches, and now it is a student-centric. I mean, it is really nice to say that students' knowledge is available to the students, but do they really use it? What sort of a things you look at it? How you find it?
It's very, very important questions you're raising, and we have faced this because challenge is not only from teacher also as well as student both. So as an administrator, I am able to do it because, it's fully controlled and autonomous, institutions, and I have a complete autonomy here in terms of regulating what should happen, what should not happen. Maybe it may be more challenging in the existing institutions, but new institution, definitely it is possible to do it. So what, the maximum resistance came from the students. So when we gave a flipped classroom where everything's learning is, responsibility of students, so they should come prepared in the class. And then teacher is saying, none of them are coming prepared except one or two, which generally comes prepared. So then they are saying, students are saying that teacher is teaching nothing. Okay, he's giving just a project in the class and we are learning nothing. So this will be a challenge. So what we did in order to overcome this challenge, we introduced technology in a big way. We said this Moodle LMS, that is Learning Management Systems, we have given all the course schedule and all the course materials and whatever is required to be read. And then we asked the student that you have to also go through a quiz. There's a quiz inbuilt into the LMS systems. And if you get minimum C plus or minimum B minus, then only you're allowed to come to the class. Okay. And the project is given for synthesis, you have to write first, then only you can come to the class group wise. Those who are not able to qualify to enter my physical class, unless they have got some minimum grade which is prescribed in the Moodle itself.
Okay.
So with that enforcement, we could control the students. So, and slowly we are not doing in every course. We started with few courses, which is feasible, like which are more case-based courses, which are not concept-based courses, because majority of the courses in India is more of concept basis, conceptual. Okay, they will teach theory of economics, they will teach accounting principles. These are basically known. And why? What is the great teachers coming in the class and explaining the same? It is like some Pandit is coming and explaining Ramayana. So Ramayana is already written, fixed. What is new in that? So same thing. If whatever is there is no need for teacher to explain. Teachers should not become a broker, like explaining that concept. So teachers should be creator, teachers should be evaluator, and teachers should be regulator. Teachers' role should be higher than just information providers. So with that, then what happens? Teachers' level has to increase now. Now, if students are coming well prepared and students are coming at the same level of teacher, then teacher has to raise the level. So teacher has to also do a lot of research now. Now, let me tell you that how the balanced scorecard was created in Harvard. It was an assignment in the class given by Robert Kaplan, Professor Robert Kaplan, that apart from financial measurement, what are the other method of performance measurement you can do? A large number of projects came, and he found from that you could classify into 4 categories, and he published a research paper, and it became a benchmark for the entire, balanced scorecard has become a benchmark for the entire performance systems. And this is research, and he's getting royalty on that. So that way we are asking teacher that you create your own model in the class, not outside the class. Research should come to the class. Research should not be in the research paper which only PhD students read, not the MBA students. So if you grade with the MBA students, they are much brighter and there will be large numbers. And then teachers' motivation will increase, because suddenly you will find in a year he is able to publish more than 10 cases, 20 papers. That is the kind of motivations teacher will have, and his brand will go. Now we are also asking them, based on your learning, you create a course which is outside the class, that is MOOC. So we are saying, find out the area which there is no course available in MOOC, you create, we'll partner with edX or Coursera, and then we'll propagate your brand. So this is how we are actually slowly getting into that how to create differentiations among the IIM systems, at least, that how our IIM will be different from other IIMs, including the older IIMs. And this is the way only you can differentiate. We cannot differentiate based on placement. We cannot differentiate based on quality of teachers and quality of students. This is the based on how you're different in terms of pedagogy, you can differentiate. So that is what we are trying to do as far as.
Right. Thank you very much, Professor Jaiswal. You mentioned, I think, the research inside the class and also the outside. I think it's a wonderful idea how really teachers can create new knowledge along with the students. And
Right.
I think that is a wonderful part. Sir, Professor Purohit, I just come back to the same thing. I mean, you started with this. It is easily said. I think as an academic institutions, because of the leadership, because of the vision, we have a wonderful, those things we do it. But how about the response of the industry that we have it from that to all the concepts? Are they takers? How long they are takers and how they take, and etc. and so on. So what is your take on it, sir?
Yes, I think at Banasthali, we have received a very good response from the industry, which is quite evident in the form of increase in the number of placements, the quality of placements, as well as the pay packages. So that is one thing. But apart from that, there has been an immense CSR support that has come from the corporate. And there I feel that among the universities and the 12 women's universities that we have in India, we have received the best kind of support, because the corporate could really find that there is something worthwhile over here. So State Bank of India has established the State Bank of India School of Commerce and Banking here. The Bajaj has established a Bajaj School of Automation, where the girls are trained on robotics, mechatronics, and AI. Then we have the Bajaj again doing one more, that is the law school, which is called as the Jamnalal Bajaj School of Legal Studies.
Oh, lovely.
We have the ICICI Bank setting up a chair, State Bank setting up a chair. Bank of America collaborated with us recently in our personal finance program, where there was a consultancy we did. And under that, we reached out to the grassroots and also to the working women, and we could implement the programs in personal finance. Apart from that, there have been some sponsored research projects also that have come from the industry, and I think that's where, as Professor Jaiswal was mentioning, that we have to create new knowledge, we have to get in the industry, we have to show them the value, then they would realize, and then they would value us even more. And it's also about the new knowledge, inspiring the students to do critical thinking and be inquisitive. And I think since we could do it, the industry response has been really very good.
Oh, that's fantastic. Really nice. I must announce one thing which this team is mentioning it to me, that we are live on YouTube, Reimagine 4 channel. I think we are already live on it. So those who are not able to get in, please, they can watch over there, whatever proceedings which we are having it here. So now coming back, Professor Jaiswal, again, same thing which we are just mentioning, a response, the implications. You said it to students. I think we have to mold. For a new institution, this is possible. For an IIM setup, this is possible. But I'm also talking about non-IIM and other setups also. It's the same thing, which is what is happening. What is your take? How they should go about it? Because I think MDI is all right. I can understand MDI, SP, Gen. They are one among those which are, I think they can always implement. But how about those categories, IIM and those things? What is your take?
Yeah. So, I strongly feel it is possible everywhere, but before that, people should realize, people should understand. If the resistance are going to come more from the, students are same here as well as in IIM Ahmedabad. So student numbers are same almost. So student side, I don't have any advantage. In fact, they must be having a, slightly better compared to the new IIMs. But when it comes to faculty members, the moment the faculty members knows that it is an advantage to them to shift to this, okay, then it's basically communication, basically the expertise. How do you regularly communicate to the community that how it is going to benefit you? Because we are not talking reducing the benefit to the faculty. Faculty are going to get enormous value into this because they're going to be globally branded. They're going to create large number of publications. They're going to enjoy teaching, because otherwise right now it's a rote learning. Same thing you're teaching, same PPT you're bringing every year, every term. How much knowledge, how much enjoyment you're doing actually in the class. You have to ask each one. They'll say, oh, no, I'm not getting much enjoyment, but it's a job, that's what I'm doing. So it's just a job. I think we have to shift their thinking process, their mindset. We are not in job. We are in a knowledge creator society. We are the innovator. We are the creator. The moment you get into that line, and that communication happen, it should be possible everywhere. But before that, we all need to analyze. We like to realize what we are actually doing. If you just analyze in your 30 to 40 years of professional career, what is your contribution? You are driven by somebody. You are not driving yourself. Somebody else is driving you. You are just becoming a kind of a labor force. You are just working from this many hours teaching, this many hours research, this many hours other transactional job. How much of intellectual job you're doing, how much of enjoyment and passion you're doing. I think that is the line we should discuss. And I'm sure then you'll find 90% or 100% will be with you. So this is basically more of understanding and evaluating and communicating the right content, and then creating a right environment and right culture and right structure and right infrastructure. And this time has come when our new education policy is talking the same line. They're saying, our honorable Prime Minister the other day he was talking in the conclave that how much students and teachers learn inside the class. They're talking, and he's talking of shifting that to become more flexible, become more aligned with the global competencies, and create new things. So in that line, new education policy also is talking on that line. So these are the part of implementation at the macro level, that how institutions are doing it, and that's where the directors and vice chancellors role becomes very, very important, and also the teachers role will become very important. Now, when teachers say that no, I'm just a providing information, that is my job, I'm sure teacher will not like that. If teacher becomes at least raised to the next level, regulator, evaluator, and then creator. I think teachers should be shifting from enabler to a creator like Brahma. The Brahma is a symbol of teacher. Teacher has to be made as a Brahma. You are a creator. You are a creator of knowledge. You are a creator of the world. I think that is the line we have to take, and then you see the change will happen very, very fast in effect.
Oh, so nice, really. Brahma is a creator, therefore, I think teacher is a creator of knowledge. I think wonderful, well said. Wonderful. Professor Prohit is wonderful, I mean, since your university is right from the foundation to, the level of PhD, I think there's a large number of, that scope which exists. How you look at it, the new education policy now, and in that context, the role of even the parents, because parents are, they look for mere bete ne marks liya, then I think he's doing good or she is doing good. Now it is competency based, it's more on the skill based, and those type of things. How you really responded to those type of things, sir? With your experience, how you really look at it?
I think the parents, they are quite happy the moment they know that their daughters are groomed in the backdrop of Indian culture and ethos. And that really helps because Banasthali's education, focusing on the five-fold education system, which ultimately leads to holistic personality development, is indeed appreciated. And so many times when the girls, they go back to their residence during the Diwali break, and when they come back, then they often share that our relatives, they say that there is a sudden change in the personality of and why that happened because if you see right from the beginning, when at Jaipur, if any girl was driving a car, then the entire traffic used to stop, and people used to just see that, look, a girl is driving a car. At that time, Banasthali conceptualized that why not the girls should fly an aircraft. So we set up a flying club, and today also we have a DGCA certified flying club in the campus with 5 Cessna aircraft.
Wonderful.
And
wonderful.
We started helicopter training and training the girls to fly. And the first girl to fly MiG Bison, Avni Chaturvedi, the first girl ever to be in the joined as a fighter pilot in the Indian Air Force, is a product of Banasthali Vidyapeeth.
Lovely. It's lovely.
Great. So that way, Banasthali did many things, as you said in the beginning also, sir, that which people had not thought about. Mm-hmm. So with that vision, when we have worked, then parents have have accepted it very well.
Very good. They're fantastic. I think your views on new education policy, sir, which has come now, which is integrating right from the foundation stage to the higher stage of education. Let's spend some time as to how you look at it, the whole concept. And before it, I must announce that a feedback form for the participants will be given 5 minutes before. This with me 10:55. It will be given to you. So please don't be in a hurry. So don't get into that. Don't ask for feedback form. So it will be given to you in any way. So 10:55. So right. So wait for that. Yes, sir. So I was just mentioning about that part. New education.
So as I told in the beginning, sir, that the new education policy has the fragrance of flexibility, autonomy, and shows the commitment of steel on the part of the government of India. Mm-hmm. And as Professor Jaiswal Sahab also mentioned in the conclave, where the Prime Minister has emphasized all the positive parts and the kind of revolution, a paradigm shift that can happen through the new education policy. So that is something I think all the educationists in India, they agree upon.
That's lovely. Great. Professor Jaiswal, how do you look at new education? Though we talked about in bits and pieces now, what your take is now, finally? How do you look at it?
The couple of very innovative methods they've introduced, very innovative points they've introduced. One is when you talk about, higher education, for example. So higher education, they have provided a flexibility that you can exit and enter anywhere, okay, and cross-disciplinary, because you should not just learn only physics, and if you have to learn physics, then biology cannot be part of that. History cannot be part of that. So that kind of curriculum flexibility, which is actually as per the international standards, like if you go to US colleges, it's highly interdisciplinary. Like drama persons is working with operations professor, so this kind of flexibility is there. That's how that country has become very creative. In our country, what our education was earlier, that a very compartment, like education is a holistic, it is for the entire personality. I'm not only just talking only, I just become mathematicians. If I am a mathematician, I must understand physics, I must understand chemistry, I must understand, biology, I must apply, pandemic, I can apply anywhere. So, why should I only do only mathematical? Okay. So application and cross functional, those things have been, so that's one very, very, very important point on the higher education. And then one can, after 3 years, its fourth year is research. Okay. So that component was badly missing earlier. You do 3 years course, just understand knowledge. Knowledge is already there now in the digital age. You don't need that. You can learn yourself. So research has been introduced, which is another good thing I would say in the education policy. That's fourth year. If you're doing 4-year course in BSc or BA, the fourth year is basically for research. If you just want a normal degree, you can go out after 3 years. So that is the flexibility part. And then it has also introduced, foreign universities can come and set up their campus here. And so like, in 1990 was the era when we open up our economy, that multinational companies can come and set up, our company can go and set up companies. Same way, I think 1990 when, we say that goddess Lakshmi was liberated, and we can say in 2020, that is 2020, the Modi government has liberated the Saraswati also, because Saraswati was tied on in the net that you can't move. Okay, everything is controlled. Now they have liberated Saraswati. Now you should know that without Saraswati, no Lakshmi is possible. Okay, because Saraswati and Lakshmi and Ganesha, all three are always together. Okay, Ganesha is a symbol of prosperity. Okay. And Lakshmi comes only when Saraswati is there. So all three have to be together. So now it's a, era in 2020, a new education policy, which has made Saraswati open. Like Saraswati from US can come, Saraswati from India can go to US. Our institution can also go and collaborate and set up the campus. So this is another, in a higher education, game changer policy, I would say. In terms of schooling also, they have made much more flexible that the 10+2 has been shifted to 5+3 plus 3+4. So those kind of changes, which is again as per the international standards, I'm sure this will, and also they have allowed that any higher education, standalone institution like IITs and IIM can diversify into many other disciplines. Like, IIMs can set up humanities, IIM set up in medical science, IIM can set up in health services. So, then only our institution will grow and then become big, and then only we'll be figuring the top 100 or top 50, maybe, coming years. So there's this, I think I would say, as an independent evaluator, I would say the policy is excellent. Implementation, as Honorable Prime Minister said rightly, that implementation is being talked about, and I'm sure with the right kind of leadership, this will get implemented. And if it starts with few stations, it will take time, but it is going to give good results. So very, very positive about this new policy from my side.
Right, so nice, really, Professor Jaiswal. And last word we'll have it from Professor Harsh Purohit. But before that, again, please check. Dekh lijiyega, there is a feedback form, fill it up and then submit. This is for the participants. It's already been there in the chat. Please check and then submit it. Yeah, Professor Harsh Purohit, you have to say something about the how really implementation should be there. I'm sure leadership, vision, this is important. Given the type of leadership we have it, I'm sure this is bound to be successful. But what else? What is that we look for it? New education policy implementation.
So we are very hopeful that the new education policy implementation would be smooth, though that's not easy because things are not just social in nature, there are also political implications. So let's see how the things happen. But given the commitment, we are sure that a lot of new things we would be able to do. But along with that, I think something which the new education policy must ensure that it doesn't miss in the implementation would be financing the higher education and more autonomy to the higher education. So if these two things we are not able to implement, then I think we will not be able to move further, because the financing of higher education is a very serious problem. If we don't take care of that, then we would not be able to stop the educational institutions to get only commercial in nature. And if we don't focus on the autonomy, then many kind of innovations, they will die their own death.
So lovely, sir. So nice of you. I think it's a time for us to wrap up. In fact, This is already going to be 12. And really wonderful ideas which have really come from the personal experiences of both of you as to how you have implemented. We started with a new age. And if I am to say and summarize, we started with a new age, the 21st century when we got into. Secondly, then we talked about the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So a lot of really things which were required to be done. And this was again being done by pandemic. In fact, urgency was being felt of whatever digitization was to take place. It was being felt by the pandemic. And therefore, at our own pace, everything which was ready to be take place, it was through the pandemic that we started. And at my personal level, I never taught online, but I've learned online and teaching online now. So people shifted from offline, mainline to, and online has become the mainline now in a way. So I think the faculty has shifted from that. And finally, the new age has come because the new age, education policy. I think it is so comprehensive, coming out with wonderful ideas in different ways. And I'm thinking if it is being properly implemented, given the leadership and the vision that we have it, we hope, we wish it is going to be implemented right earnest, and it is going to show the results with whatever we got it. Sir, with this, I thank you very much, in fact, for the contribution you made in the discussions, very insightful, very intensive discussions. You had it coming from your personal experiences, your personal thought processes. So nice of you, sir. We thank you very much on behalf of the team of the Reimagine 4.0 and on my personal behalf. It has been a very wonderful experience. So nice of you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank
you.
You.
Also, we would like to meet and get
thank you so much for coordinating this and giving us an opportunity to learn as well. And always a pleasure to be in your company and with Professor Jaiswal, sir.
Thank you, Purohit.
Thank you. Nice, sir. So nice.
Thank
you, sir. Thank you very much. Sachin, is it all right? Sachin?
Okay, sir.
Right. Thank you very much. That's all right. Sir, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jaspal. Thank you, sir. This is Professor Purohit. It's great.